Jordan, good to see you, mate. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thank you, mate. Yeah, I'm all good, thank you.
It's good to have you on. Busy week for yourself, as we've just been talking about there.
Yeah.
Um, I'll get into the FA Cup side of things in a minute, and obviously the result last night. Um, but let's just dive into you. So, the youth days. So, when did you first sign at the academy?
So I first signed at Liverpool, under nines. So I was there from 7, 8 years old. Around the same time, I think I was at Liverpool, Everton, Preston North End as well as me Sunday league team, Crossall in Ormskirk. And once you get to under nines, you obviously got to make the decision of who you're going to sign for.
Yeah.
So for me, being a Red, obviously it was an easy decision. And but yeah, under nines was the first sort of registration that I signed at the club.
And so, was the offers on the table from other clubs then at the time you was going for Liverpool?
Yeah, there was obviously I don't remember as much, but speaking to my parents, and there was offers from United, obviously Everton, Preston. There's loads of teams, but it was only going to ever be Liverpool for me.
Okay, so obviously you was there from a young age till how old was you when you left the club?
I was 20 when I left.
20. So when you first get your pro deal, then I don't know whether they called it the YTS or the scholarship back then. Can you remember that feeling of being offered that deal?
I was quite lucky. I was offered mine quite early, so I know that a lot of boys get offered theirs. Under 16s can be quite
Yeah,
nerve wracking for them. There's a lot of pressure on them at that age to sort of perform, to prove themselves, to try and get a scholar. I was lucky enough to be told quite early that I was going to be not only just offered a scholar but a professional contract as well. So I signed my scholarship forms, but I'd turned pro on my 17th birthday. So
yeah,
um, I that under 16 for me, I could play with a bit of freedom and sort of
yeah.
relax a little bit, which I know there wasn't other boys as fortunate in that sense than I was. But yeah, luckily in my case, quite rare. I think that I was told pretty early on that I'd be okay.
Yeah, you had some squad growing up, didn't you? From obviously from an early age, you must have been around together for years. But
Yeah.
um, did you look at players around you that you'd probably say were good enough to make it at the top level, but did crack when the pressure came to that time?
Um, Potentially, yeah. Obviously, in youth football, you have boys develop at different ages.
Yeah,
Probably the most obvious example at the minute is Paul Mullin coming from my age group, who was at the academy all the way through me. Didn't get offered a scholarship at Liverpool. Took a bit of time out. And what a name he's made for himself now at Wrexham. So prime example of if it doesn't work out at Liverpool, doesn't mean that you're not a good player, and it doesn't mean you can't go on to have a career. And there's other players. Jack McCourt's an example. He's gone on to play in the Football League. He's national north at the minute, but just because boys don't get the yes at a scholarship at a massive club like Liverpool, there's plenty of avenues in football to go down.
yeah. I think people forget that, don't they? Like just because you've been released by Liverpool, is it's no embarrassment because people don't realize the level you've actually got to be at that, and that's not just on a match day. That's every single day. The standard, isn't it?
You've got to realise you're playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. So the level is extremely high. Obviously for local boys, it's a bit more disappointing and hard to take. It's your boyhood club.
Yeah,
Some of the boys that got released and didn't get a scholarship, they've been at the club since under nine, so they've been there for a long time, and it's all they've known. And it's not easy. It's not football's it's a tough industry. It's cutthroat. It's brutal at times. And some people don't recover from that. Some do. If you're strong mentally and you can suffer the setbacks and rise from that and come back from it, you can go on to have a career. But it does, the rejection does, unfortunately, um, cut careers quite early.
yeah. Obviously, you played at a really top level growing up through the academy, and then under 21s level for Liverpool. Um, you was there at a good time, let's say, because obviously Dalglish wanted you to stay at the club. From what I've been reading as well, obviously I don't know
Mhm.
too much about it up until now, but the pressure on your shoulders was massive from an early age, let's say, because you was asked to be the next Steven Gerrard, which, you know, I don't think that's the right term to use with anyone, to be honest with you, because I don't think anyone ever will be the next Steven Gerrard. But how did you feel about that comment? Did it put extra pressure on your shoulders, or did you think, wow,
I think because I was in such a good moment at the time, um, everything that was happening on the pitch, off the pitch, was just going as well as what it could have done. You know, I was representing England at youth level. I was captain of the youth teams. I was a goal scorer midfielder. Everything was just going to plan. It was nothing could have gone better in terms of my development at that age. And I remember it was a comment to me by Frank McParland. I knew I was rated highly. They didn't hide that. You know, I
yeah,
felt wanted. I felt I was looked after well. You know, my coach is coming up for the youth team, Steve Cooper now. He's obviously at Notts Forest. Kenny was the manager. We've had a great relationship with Kenny Dalglish. Frank McParland was the academy director, and it was the comment off him coming in. You know, Pep Segura was there as well, Rodolfo Borrell, and you know these coaches coming from Barcelona have worked with the best players in the world, and you know the sort
yeah,
of compare you saying you had similar traits at that age to Iniesta and players like this. Which, you know, it's like a wow moment. And I remember I had a sit down with Frank, he pulled me into his office, and you know things were going well. And he just turned around to the picture behind him to Gerrard on the wall and said, you know, we want you to be the next Gerrard of the club. And for me, it's like, you know, he's my idol. I've looked up
yeah,
to him for, and you know, I was playing in the youth team with Raheem Sterling, who was just about moved up to the next level. He was in and around the first team, and you know, it was like, no, you'll be in the first team before Raheem.
wow,
And that was where I was at the time. Obviously, football's a game of opinions, and you know, as soon as Kenny loses his job and there's a turnover in staff, then you know, you've got to prove yourself again, and you know, you've got to new people come in with new styles, new philosophies, new opinions, and you know, all that sort of hard work. You know, doesn't go out the window, but you know, everyone's on a play 11 field again, and
yeah.
you've just got to prove yourself even more.
So obviously, when Dalglish leaves the club, everyone was gutted about it anyway, because it's one of them situations where he couldn't have done right for wrong at the time, could he? It was just he didn't want an icon going out on a bad note, but
Yeah,
he left the club. Rodgers comes in, and it kind of feels like it was a case of he wanted to put his mark on the club, let's say, and obviously you've just mentioned there it's a clean slate for everyone. Did you get knocked down a peg by him? Because I believe you was offered a 3 year deal at the time.
yeah. You know, I wouldn't maybe describe it as knocked a peg down. I remember the first at the time Rodgers coming in. I was training quite regularly at the first team at Melwood. Obviously, they were separate then from the academy. So
Yeah,
I remember the first time I bumped into Brendan. It was in the corridor at Melwood. He introduced himself. He said, "Oh, John," he said, "I've been told you're the new Iniesta." So I just had a laugh to him and said, "Oh, who's told you that?" Me mum, just in a jokey way,
yeah,
sort of thing. So it was fine, and then obviously the news come in. I think it was the week I was supposed to sign the contract that had all been agreed, a 3 year deal. You know, I get a phone call from the agent at the time, and was told that this contract was now off the table, and you know, just be a lesser contract on a 1 year deal. So obviously, alarm bells start sort of ringing, and you know, you think of why am I not wanted? Does he not rate me? Is my time coming to an end? What's going on, sort of thing. So just, you know, relax, sort of take your time, and we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll see what's what. So I remember training the day after I had the phone call with my agent. I was up at Melwood, um, just doing the warm up, and Brendan said, "Jordan," he said, "come and see me at the end of the training in my office." So I'm thinking, "Oh, I know what's going on here," sort of
yeah,
thing. So then I trained well. Went to see Brendan, sat down with him, and he was just honest. He said, "Listen," he said, "I've heard great things about you. You know, you sound like my type of player, the type of player that I like, a footballer." He said, "Obviously, this contract situation that I believe that you were offered a 3 year deal." He said, "That's not the way I work." He said he used comparisons to his son Anton. He said whenever Anton was offered more than a year contract in the past, I've always gone into the club and said, no, I just want a year, because it keeps the young boys hungry. You've not done anything yet in senior football, and that's just the way he works. So, I can understand it. At the end of the day, he said, I don't want you to feel as if I don't rate you as a player, because I do. He said, this is just, I want you to stay. And that's that. So he was honest, and, I took his word for it, signed the contract, and then obviously what happened down the line happened. And then there's, Jurgen comes in when I'm not there, and then the whole philosophy changes again. His philosophy now, the philosophy of the club is to tie boys down to long-term deals, keep the market value high, give them exposure, etc. So at that age when you leave and you see all that going on, there's a lot of what ifs, and I'm seeing boys that at one point were sort of in the academy when I was at Melwood, and now they're all of a sudden getting opportunities and exposure. So it was tough at times, but again, it's probably given me the resilience to keep going and still be in the game now, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking about that. I weren't really going to get into this conversation, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Mental health's a big thing, more so nowadays because more people are speaking out. At that time when, let's say, it didn't go to plan, how you envisaged the long-term future, how did that affect you?
It wasn't easy. I've had some really dark days in football. I went from being in Europa League squad, flying to Besiktas away on a private plane with Gerrard and Balotelli and these unbelievable players, to then literally a year and a half later playing for my local team, Southport. Going to Blythe Spartans on a Tuesday night. It's tough thinking, where did this all go wrong? How did it go wrong so quickly? So I had to come to terms with it quite quickly and get my head around it. It's something that I'm very passionate about now, the mental health side of the games, the aftercare of players. It's something that I speak regularly. I have a great relationship still with the club, with the academy. Even today I've been in at the AXA with some of the first team staff. I've got a great relationship with the club. I left the club 8 years ago, and a message that I keep bringing to them is I'm so passionate about the aftercare of players, and because I know firsthand how difficult it can be.
Yeah. So you mentioned there, obviously, Klopp joins the club, and you're, let's say, I wouldn't say an outsider because that's not the case at all. You've been there since you was a baby, pretty much. How was it watching from afar then, knowing that some lads that were in and around where you was playing and then touching base with Jurgen Klopp and they're in his squads?
It was difficult. I remember when Jurgen Klopp got announced, I was at Bolton Wanderers then, and that was a move that's probably killed my career, being honest. Wrong move, wrong time, potentially wrong advice. I'm sat in going again from the facilities you have and coming to Bolton in the difficulties. I'm now sat in a ports cabin at Bolton Wanderers in the under-21 squad. Nowhere closer to the first team at Bolton than I was at Liverpool. In fact, further away from Bolton's first team than I was at Liverpool. Looking now that Jurgen Klopp's the new manager of Liverpool, looking at the pictures, looking at all the boys, all my ex-teammates now training with the first team, not just one or two that it was when I was there. It's now like a handful of players getting opportunities and cups, and that was tough. That was, I'm a 21-year-old boy at this time who's been at the club for 12 years. And then, you go so close to sort of getting it. And then you come away from it that year, you come away, or a couple of months later, these opportunities arise. So it wasn't easy, but like I said, I come through it, learned to deal with it the best way I could. And I've managed to forge a career. Being honest, not at the level that I thought I'd be playing at back then, but I'm still enjoying my football. Still feel like I've got a lot to give back to the game, and I just love being involved in it.
That's good, and obviously you're hanging on to moments, and you're getting moments like you did in the FA Cup, which we'll come on to in a minute. Why do you think? Well, I don't know this because I see it from afar. Why did it not work out at Bolton? Obviously, they were going through a bit of a hell of a time themselves for quite a few years. But why did it not work out for you?
Um, there's probably a few different reasons. At the time, I was sold on the move to, you know, the 20. You'll be joining the 21 squad. They train on a pitch alongside the first team. By Christmas, you'll be playing for the first team. And as a 21-year-old boy, you're coming from Liverpool, you're thinking, oh, I'm leaving Liverpool, but by Christmas I could be playing in the Championship here.
Yeah.
Naive of me, but as a 21-year-old, you're going to think any different. Probably should have took my time a little bit more. I did. After the move, I heard of other interests that come in from different clubs. This was the first sort of club that come in and I sort of jumped ship in hindsight too soon. Whether that was wrongly advised by my agents at the time, potentially. If I look back or as to advise anyone else, it doesn't have to be Championship. Go down to League One, League Two, earn your stripes. Look at Joe Rafferty's a prime example. He left Liverpool, went to Rochdale, played hundreds of games for them. He's now playing for Portsmouth. Cam Brannigan at Oxford, it didn't have to be the first one jump into. You're going into a club at Bolton who at the time was struggling financially. They had big problems at board level. You've got a manager with history of not Neil Lennon, not really playing young players. So probably a little bit more of homework. Whether in that time going back when I was that age, you do that. I don't know. But definitely with age comes maturity, and if I could go back in time, I definitely would have took my time, assessed my options, and gone from there.
I've spoke to a few of the ex-academy players who obviously have gone on to have a career in whether that's top level, whether it's not top level. And Adam Morgan seems to be in a similar boat of a story, what he said. So when he leaves Liverpool, he's then got Leicester or Yeovil, and through advice, none of his own, he goes to Yeovil, and Leicester go on to win the Premier League. It just tends to be that next move. There's got to be a big chunk of luck in it.
There has, of course, not just football industry. You need a bit of luck. Probably in any walk of life, you need a bit of luck. Football's massively. It's a game of opinions. It's timing. It's injuries. There's a lot of top talent that would have gone astray that no one's heard of because of circumstances, because of opinions, because of this person, and vice versa. There would be a lot of players now that we've heard of that we wouldn't have heard of if there wasn't an injury, for example, or things like that. An example that I can think of is, Nat Phillips. What a career he's going to have. I was at Bolton with him. Nat Phillips was in my team with Rob Holding. Obviously, went to Arsenal. Me, Nat, Rob were all playing in the same team, and Nat, he'd admit himself he wasn't really playing. He wasn't offered a pro contract. His dad Jimmy was academy manager, so he just come in to train and just he had a lot of growing room. He went out to America. He chose the university he was going to go to. Ends up trial at Liverpool, impresses, and then he's gone on to have going to move and do what he's done in the game. So I always say you just got to be involved in football, and you'll have high moments, you'll have low moments, but I always say to young players nowadays, you're only one pass, one goal, one little thing away from getting a move, because you never know who's watching.
Yeah, it's brilliant that. You've played for obviously various clubs after Bolton, and I'd say, am I right in saying now you've found your feet? So when I say that, obviously you've played for different teams. You was at Marine, then I don't know how you say it, filed or what is it?
Yeah, filed.
I can never say it. Don't know why. But yeah, and now you're back at Marine, and obviously you're having huge moments now. We're beating Halifax Town away in the qualifying rounds, and now you're in the first proper round. Do these moments just make it all feel worthwhile for you? Because, like you've said, you love for the games there, your passion, you've wanted to do this for your whole life. Do the moments like this, do they mean more to you now?
I think I cherish them more now, yeah. Coming from academy football, a top end academy, you learn to play football in a certain way, a certain style. Like I've had to going to non-league football from an early age, really. You know, national league when I joined Southport. You know, I describe top clubs. You live in a bubble. I describe it as the bubble. You know, when you're at Liverpool for 12 years, you don't realise how big football is outside of League Two. You know, it's a real eye opener. What I'm passionate about now, especially with academy boys, is how quickly can you burst that bubble and give them exposure of non-league football, because the reality of it is that probably 80% of them are going to end up in non-league. If that, they're not going to play. That's the sad reality of football. So, you know, I think I've not survived, but gone on to have a non-league career like I have, and rack up games across sort of 3 divisions in the non-league level, because I was exposed to it at such a young age. And, you know, I've had to adapt my age as a sort of ball playing midfielder to then go into the non-league system. It's, you know, you've got to adapt. You've got to adapt quickly. You know, you're playing senior football. You're playing with players who are playing to pay the mortgage. Essentially, you've got managers' jobs on the line. So if they don't trust you, they're not going to play you. So, you know, I've heard stories, even being in Liverpool today, I'm hearing stories of players that, you know, just couldn't survive non-league or couldn't be trusted, because it's a big eye opener. It's not easy, but yeah, you know, going on to Saturday, it was unbelievable. I mean, I worked extremely hard from part-time, semi-professional, non-league to then get full-time at Fylde. I worked hard for that opportunity at Fylde, the full-time professional club. So for me, I think at 26, when I got in there, you know, that was 5 years of hard work, of semi-professional football, of, you know, nights in the gym and runs by yourself, and to get back into full-time football. And then coming away from that, you know, back at Marine, the change in that club since I was first time round, a year before Fylde, after the Spurs game, you know, it's unbelievable, the incline of that club, the supporters, the fan base now, the level of the players, you know, there's good players at this football club, there's good players in this league. You know, I think that shows that, you know, the little run that we've been on recently, we just lost last night to Macclesfield again, who have some unbelievable players, Football League players. You know, before that we were 12 games unbeaten. We've won 10. We drew 2. The 2 that we drew were FA Cup games that we then took to a replay and beat. You know, Saturday we were away from home to Halifax, National League, full-time team, top half of the table, just outside the playoffs, and we go there and put performance in and win 1-0 to get the club to the first round of the FA Cup. You know, it's great, and it's why you know, the buzz that you get from that. You know, there's a lot of lows, more lows than highs in football. And especially with age and maturity, you learn to enjoy the highs and, you know, cherish them, because they don't come around very often.
Did you get a coach to Halifax? And if you did, what was the journey home like?
We did, yeah. The journey home from a win's always a party bus, but you know, it was good. We enjoyed ourselves, but obviously we knew that the reality of non-league games come thick and fast. So we had a tough game on Tuesday. You know, we played Saturday again, then we played Tuesday, then we played Saturday, then we played Monday. So it's non-stop. It's relentless non-league, and you know, you've got to think that a Tuesday night you've got lads that are up for work at 5. They're at work all day, you know, grafting, and then you've got a game at 7:45 against, again, another full-time or a hybrid opposition that, you know, have the luxury of just having football as the job. So it's tough, mate, but, you know, I'm enjoying it, which is the main thing.
Good. So when you've touched on the Tottenham game for Marine then, and obviously that would have brought in a lot of money for a club of Marine size, let's say. How good has that been for the club, having the eyes on the club, but also that money from that time? As when you say the incline, has all that helped with that situation?
Definitely. I was at Marine prior to the cup run, on a brief deal before COVID, and, you know, I was probably playing in front of 350 people, you know, on a grass pitch. The grass pitch was awful. You know, it's bobbling into you, bouncing up at your shins, and that's where they were. Still a great club, full of great people, but, you know, it's just a typical non-league club. And then, you know, everything happens with the FA Cup and what comes with it, the finances, the sort of the fame, the worldwide known now with name of Marine Football Club. and what it's done for that club is unbelievable. The way that they've invested the money back into the club. You know, it's got a restaurant there now, lovely bar, function room. They've turned the pitch into, you know, the highest quality 4G available. The fan base now, you know, you're averaging sort of 1,500 people per game. You know, so it's a massive, it's unbelievable, really, the rise of Marine in the last couple of years.
It's good to see that though, isn't it? Because you get so many. I wouldn't, you know, I don't really want to pick names here, but you get so many clubs who get that money and they just go running with the money. They don't actually put it back into the club. So to see them investing into the club and putting that money back in there, it can only be good for Marine in the future, can't it? As you see, and now you're seeing the results. But you've got Harrogate Town in the first proper round on the 4th of November. So if anyone wants to get down there, make sure you get down there and give the lads some support because, as you know yourself, getting a ticket for Anfield's near nothing possible.
Yeah,
How do you think you're going to get on? First of all, obviously, it's a tough ask, let's be honest. But that second round opens up even more avenues for you, doesn't it?
yeah. Do you know what? I think that speaking to the lads yesterday, we fancy it. You know, it'll be a tough. It'll be packed. It'll be a sellout. It'll be a sellout at Marine. Be a hostile environment for them. You know, the fans will be on our side. We'll be up for it more than they will. You know, the minute that they're in the wrong half of League Two. You know, for them, they'll be looking at it as a massive banana skin, which obviously is. The pressure's off us. We have no pressure on us at all. We can go out, play our game, and you know, our fans just to cause an upset. And as you said, you know, if we can play as well as I know we can, you know, we can go away to Halifax Town, which potentially could look at as maybe a more difficult fixture going away to Halifax. You know, we're home. We fancy ourselves at home. Yes, League Two, Football League opposition, but you know, we won't be fazed by that at all.
Good. I'm going to get down there with my little lad. I just feel like, you know, I've talked to Anfield so many times, and I don't think kids appreciate the actual hard work that goes into it because they see all these names on that pitch and they see all the money that's in Anfield. But the reality of the situation is, like you see for yourself, it's so easy for things to just tumble. And you know that's no disrespect to anyone that this has happened to, but people forget how hard it is to get to that top level, and people forget how hard it is to stay at any level. So for what you've done, mate, I just got to take me out off to you for staying hungry, staying involved, and working your ass off to get where you've got.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Lastly, I want to talk to you about your coaching then. So you've got a coaching group up. Is it you're playing on Marine, is it? Is that where you train from?
Yeah, so, you know, I specialise in one-to-one sessions of half terms. I put on football camps for boys and girls at Marine, so they get the experience of playing at a stadium. You know, it's half term. Next week, I've got a camp on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week, and you know they'll be playing on the same pitch as the FA Cup first round the week after. You know, so even for them, you know, I tell the kids when they come down, you know, Gareth Bale's played on this pitch, he's played here, Mourinho's been here, and their eyes light up. You know, which is great. I think you've seen with Adam Morgan as well. Cam Brannigan started his own academy. Connor Cody's just started his. You know, I think people with the experiences that we've got, I think just naturally we have a passion to give back. Like I feel I've got so much that I owe to the game with my experiences. I think it would be selfish of me not to give back. And you know, I get great fulfillment from it as well.
Good. Well, good luck with it, mate. Keep it going. And is
Thank
there
you.
any pages that people? I know that there's an Instagram page, but do you want to plug a couple of your pages for people to get involved with that?
Yeah, so you can follow my Instagram page, which is Jordan Lussey Football Coaching, and it's the same on Facebook as well. So just at Jordan Lussey Football Coaching.
Right, keep it going, mate. Let's call it a podcast there. I've taken enough of your time. I know you've got a
Cheers,
busy
mate.
week anyway. But again, mate, I just want to wish you all the luck with everything that you've got going on, your coaching and Marine as well. And obviously, not only in the round, but also in the league. Keep it going, mate, and keep going at it because,
Yeah.
like you've just said, it's so hard to keep going, but you've done it, and you're a prime example of what people should have an attitude like. So,
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck anyway, mate. Catch you soon.
Nice one, Dan.
Ciao, mate.